All right, we're recording again. Let's talk about Thanksgiving. Let's
To
see.
a better extent, certainly
All right,
the income tax
we got-
and the.
I don't know. All right, Tish on Thanksgiving and praising idolaters, singing an idolatrous song. I'll tell you. I know some people brought up that Rabbi Victor Miller. Let's see what we're
That
talking about
since
here.
1863 has been established as an annual day in America to be a Yom Ian in the Indian of Hakaras HaTov. A lot of people say, why do we need the Thanksgiving Day? For us, every day is Thanksgiving. Yes and no.
So what I said there is that we have we remember Yetzias Mitzrayim every day, right? Why is this so dark? It's all the way up. All right. We remember Yetzias Mitzrayim every day, and yet we have Pesach. We remember Maimed Har Sinai every day. We have Shavuos. All right, what am I saying here?
It's not another not Jewish source. This song was written by a minister, a Christian minister.
All right, he was Mr. Rogers.
He was a reverend and he was a doctor.
All right, so let's just. I want to talk about this. Well, we'll let it run. But I want to talk first about Rabbi Victor Miller. I'm a big chassid of Rabbi Victor Miller, but Sof Kol Sof, he wasn't a Tana. He's not on the Sanhedrin. And Meir Shiva was also a student of his, and he said by a hesped that he said for Rabbi Victor Miller was that as much as he loved Rabbi Miller, he didn't follow exactly everything that he taught. He disagreed with him on certain things. And I'm not saying I'm a Manda Omer that I can disagree with Rabbi Victor Miller. But when it came to Thanksgiving in the 20th century, you had three opinions. You had Rabbi Victor Miller held as Yar Gval Yavor, even though he also held that every federal holiday it's a mitzvah to put up the American flag, which would include Thanksgiving and would include Christmas also. However, with that, he held that eating turkey on Thanksgiving specifically is a Yar Gval Yavor. It's a Shiloh of Avodah Zarah. Ramosha, held the middle road. He said one should not celebrate Thanksgiving, but if one wants to eat turkey because they like it, there's no specific isser of eating turkey on that day. And essentially the whole discussion was about turkey. And then the third question was about, the third opinion would be Rav Soloveitchik, who again would not really be the one that I would follow. And but a lot of my Rebbeim were students of his as well. And Rav Soloveitchik, actually, he would make shir early. He didn't skip shir on Thanksgiving Day, but he'd make shir early, meaning he'd give his Talmud lecture early, so he could be home with his wife in Boston and have the Thanksgiving Suda with a turkey. And that was Rav Soloveitchik. So it seemed that it wasn't like just like Bikushi, he's allowing to eat turkey on this day, but that he is, but he was mamish celebrating Thanksgiving like a regular American. But there's a fourth approach. So all three of those are orthodox, and none of them are wrong. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. But there's a fourth approach, and that's the original American approach. How did Jews who were Orthodox, they weren't Gedolim, they weren't the greatest leaders, but how was Thanksgiving approached? The first National Thanksgiving Day in 1789, that George Washington made the one-time Thanksgiving. It wasn't an annual holiday until 1863. So historically, the Jews in America did like all of the other religions did. because they were called upon, go to your respective house of worship and give thanks to God as you understand it. It was not a missionary push to convert Jews to Christianity. It was saying, if you're Jewish, you go to your synagogue and do something Jewish there to thank God. If you're Catholic, you go to your Catholic church. You're Protestant, whatever denomination, you go to your church. You're Muslim, you go to your mosque. You're Buddhist, you go to the Buddhist temple. I don't know if there were those things in America in colonial times. I know there were mosques, and there were definitely synagogues. But the Jews, I know, they celebrated Thanksgiving as a day of thanksgiving. They said Tehillim and heard a drasha from Rabbi Sheshes, who we've talked about, in the Sheretz Yisrael synagogue, and Ad Hayom Hazeh, to this very day, in the Sheretz Israel synagogue, which is the oldest congregation in America. The rabbi there, who's Rameir Soloveitchik, he makes a drasha. The chazan gets up and sings some Tehillim, some parts of Hallel and other kapitlich of Tehillim, and the rabbi says a drasha, and he dresses in a traditional way that the clergy dressed in colonial times, with preaching bands and like a chazan's hat, and that's an Orthodox synagogue. And I think that's an appropriate way. And some of the Hasidic Rebbes, I remember hearing such a thing. I don't remember who exactly it was, that at least on the Shabbos after Thanksgiving they would have turkey. Now, as far as Mr. Rogers, calling him an idolater and singing him that idolatrous song, it's a song that is not anything Christological, and there's nothing in that song that I sang that could be that goes against any aspect of Jewish theology. And so I spoke to one of my rebbeim who does celebrate Thanksgiving as a Yom HaPagra, just like, and he discourages celebrating Tu B'Shvat. Even though I celebrate Tu B'Shvat in a similar way, and he discourages the celebration of Pesach Sheni, which I also celebrate, and I make a tish for. And I don't know what he holds about Lag B'Omer, but there were many Gedolim who, the Chaim Sofer was famous for being against the celebration of Lag B'Omer. But again, I usually have a Suda, something. I celebrate Lag B'Omer in the same way, and so not als teretz chiyuv, not in the way that any chiyuv deraisa or derabanan that we have for any of our actual Yom Tovim, but to have a Yom HaPagra, a day like Thanksgiving, the 4th of July, are, I feel, mutter. There's no chiyuv, but I feel that it's mutter for one to celebrate. And one of my rebbeim, I asked him about it, and I asked him, what does he sing at his Thanksgiving Suda? And he says he sings, he's an Orthodox rabbi, Breslover Chosid, and he says he sings "Let's Gather Together to Seek the Lord's Blessing," which is a hymn written by Christians that has no Christological elements to it. Where are we supposed to go from here? 181 south. Okay. So, I mean I-81 south. So, and that's one of my rabbis. Again, an Orthodox rabbi, a Breslover Chosid, a Talmudir of Ovadia Yosef, and he says that that's how he celebrates Thanksgiving. He washes and has a Suda, and he sings non-Christological Christian hymns that were written by Christians that are traditional for Thanksgiving. Grew up 100% Jewish. He's not a Ger Tzedek. He's a Levi. He grew up not frum, but this is how he conducts himself. And also, when I go to interfaith Thanksgiving service, or I conduct one at work, that's usually what we sing there. Is we gather together to seek the Lord's blessing. It's a popular hymn, and the same thing. Even though it was written by Protestants, the Catholics have it in their hymnal also. So I'm sorry. I asked Daster about this. I asked someone who I consider to be a Pesach how to approach this, and that's what I do. Thank you for watching. We're going to go weiter. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. We're going to make a separate video for the next part.